Good morning, world. After doing another live session with my communication workshop group, there were a couple things that stood out that made me think, maybe I should do a video. And that was addressing the communication faux pas or communication mistakes that couples make. So today we're going to go over 5, as usual, communication mishaps that couples make. The first one is forgetting who you're talking to. A lot of times when things get heated, when we're upset, people do things and say things that makes you wonder, are you really talking to your husband? Are you really talking to your wife? Do you really know who you're talking to? And things that can be so hurtful that they can have long-term damage in the relationship. So one of the things that we need to do when we're communicating with our partners is being aware and being attentive to who you're talking to and who that person is to you and what that person means to you, to avoid saying these things that when this particular situation is over can linger and cause long-term damage to your relationship. And one of the mistakes that people make, that one of the worst ones, is that retaliatory communication, where the person says something that hurt you, and of course you have to one up them and say something even worse. When you're working with your partner, this is the person that you need to lay next to tomorrow, tonight even. You have to be careful of what it is that you're saying to them. And that's one of the reasons it's always a better idea for people to take a few minutes and cool off before having difficult conversations. And next one is making solo decisions or making decisions without them or with your friends, and then coming and telling your partner, this is what we're doing, or this is the decision we make or we're making, when they had absolutely no involvement. We find that a lot of times individuals and couples will do that, and that partner feels left out. That partner is being pushed in a corner of, hey, okay, this is the decision we're making, except for the fact that it wasn't we who made the decision. It was me and my friends, or you and your friends, or whoever it was. So we need to be very careful of, sometimes you do talk to your friends about certain things, but you can't make the decision with your friend. If it's something pertaining to your relationship, something pertaining to your family, you need to make sure that you're making that decision with your partner and not so much with other people or by yourself, and then just expecting them to come along and not hear their perspective, not hear their need, because the whole point of having the conversation is to allow them to have input. And when you've already made the decision, there's really no more room for any kind of dissenting input. So be careful of that. Next is quiet forgiveness, or that suffering in silence. A lot of times people do that as in a way to avoid tension, or maybe letting it go. You'll hear people say, I'll let it go, I'll let him get away with it this time, I'll let her have this one. But if you're letting her have this one and she does not know that you're letting her have this one, you're setting your spouse up to do this again. And what ends up happening is you let it go this time, but your partner didn't even know that you let something go. Or something happened and it bothered you, but you never said anything. You leave the door open for your partner to do this again because they did not know that they did something that hurt you. They did not know that they did something that bothered you. When you're trying to keep the peace, I guess, and you want to, okay, just take one for the team, or whatever you want to call it, that does not mean you don't let your partner know that there was a problem. You can still tell your partner, hey hun, this happened, it bothered me. End of story. You don't need to go into discussion and having a whole argument and being upset about it, because you made the decision that you're not going to get upset about it. You're letting it go. But it's important that your partner know that there was this incident, that this particular situation bothered you, so that they don't do it again. The other part is, it actually goes along with this one, is forgetting the difference between communication and arguing or fighting. A lot of times, in an effort to keep the peace, people don't speak up. People don't say what they need. People don't say what they want. And when you don't do that, you're kind of putting your relationship aside. You have to be able to have that discussion with your partner. You need to be able to both share ideas and share your input and tell each other how you feel, and have an open forum where you can both have different opinions. You can both feel whatever way you feel about something. Just because it's different does not mean it's necessarily a fight. In a relationship, what needs to happen at some point, if a decision needs to be made, yes, you will have to compromise. You give up something, your partner give up something. But the simple fact that you two came from different viewpoints, that you two wanted different things, does not mean that you can't have a conversation about it. And having different viewpoints does not necessarily mean that it's an argument. It does not necessarily mean that you are having a fight. It's okay to be different. It's okay to have differing opinions. That's kind of what makes relationships interesting, because you're not the same people. If you were the same exact person, what would be the purpose of having two of you in the relationship? So understand and accept that differences are okay. You just have to be able to communicate them intelligently, communicate them calmly, and of course, receive that difference and respect that difference in your partner. And finally, we have the whole idea of failing to listen, or actually failing to hear what your partner is saying. A lot of time, people will have conversations and someone will go and sit and talk forever, and the other person dozes off or goes back into their own little mind and doing something completely different from the conversation that's happening. When your partner is talking and you're not hearing, you're leaving room for things to happen for later down the line. That's how you miss something that your partner needed. That's how you miss something that your partner wanted for you or from you. Being able to listen and hear. And if your partner says something and you don't agree with it, you can't just dismiss it just because it's not what you wanted. Just because you don't agree does not mean you get to dismiss it. You actually have to hear it. You have to take it in. And I know, especially earlier in relationships, sometimes people will do this where maybe one person says, I don't want children, or I have to have children. But because this is not your point, because your partner says, I don't want children, and you want kids, and you figure, you know what, I'm just going to let that go for now. I'm not going to listen to it. I'm not going to hear that, because maybe I'll change her mind. Maybe I'll change his mind. You have to pay attention to those things. Pay attention to the things that are important, the deal breakers even, that your partner is letting you know. The things that they want, the things that they need, or the things they are absolutely against. You have to be able to hear those things. And when your partner says, I want, I need, you have to be able to take that into consideration and apply that to future behavior and future decisions. Okay, so that was a whole lot, wasn't it? All right, so that is pretty much it for today. The first thing, forgetting to talk to your partner, or forgetting who you're talking to. You have to remember, this is the person you've chosen to be with. This is the person you love and care about, and you have to speak to them in a manner that reflects that. When making decisions that affect your family, your relationship, the partner is the one you make the decision with, not your friends, not by yourself, not your parents or whomever. You make couple decisions, you make relationship decision with your partner. That whole quiet forgiveness or suffering in silence, if you're doing that, you're setting your partner up to do it again, because if they don't know that they did something wrong, it is possible that it will be done again. And at that point, 2 or 3 times down the line, then you'll get frustrated, because you can't just keep, letting it go. Eventually you get frustrated and it becomes a big fight. Instead of just letting it go and saying nothing, let it go, but acknowledge that it happened so that your partner knows not to repeat it. and forgetting the difference between communication and arguing. Just because you have different opinions does not mean you're having a fight. It's okay to be different. It's okay to have different opinions. You just have to be able to respect each other and respect the different opinions or the different viewpoints, needs that you and your partner have. And of course, when your partner talks, listen to them, hear them. If they tell you they want something, if they tell you they need something, listen to that. If they say don't do something, if they say they don't want something, no, it's not a joke. Hear what your partner is saying to you. All right, so that's all we have for today. Good morning, world. Have a great day.